26-year-old Hannah Smith was a contestant on Season 6 of Love Island, USA in 2024. In late September, she was arrested in Cobb County, Georgia, after attending a concert at the Coca-Cola Roxy. According to law enforcement, Smith was taken into custody shortly before midnight for being disorderly inside the concert venue and trying to punch a female officer who was trying to help her into an Uber after the show. She was also accused of calling the officer derogatory names, going on a racist tirade and threatening to kill the officer and her sister. An inside source told TMZ that Smith called the officer ugly, dumb, fat, and certain other words, including the repeated use of terminology referencing the woman's skin color. She also reportedly accused the officer of hating white women. Smith was booked into custody on felony counts of terroristic threats and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. She was released on $8,000 bond the following day. The young woman's attorney, Mike Hawkins, told TMZ that his client had no memory of the things that she was accused of. He said that Smith was deeply troubled by the events of that night and that she regretted any of her actions that had offended anyone, including members of law enforcement. After news of her arrest went viral, Smith publicly apologized for her behavior in an Instagram post. She expressed her remorse specifically to the officer she had targeted with her hateful rant and to the black community, stating, "I understand the impact and severity of my actions and words, and I am deeply sorry." The mea culpa went on to state that Smith had no recollection of the night's events and that her alleged actions were out of character. Prosecutors are reportedly reviewing the incident to determine whether to move forward with a criminal case. Number 13. James McCoy Taylor. 38-year-old James McCoy Taylor competed on JoJo Fletcher's season of The Bachelorette in 2016. In the years since, he's made news headlines for far less flattering reasons, including an arrest in College Station, Texas in 2022 for driving while intoxicated and unlawfully carrying a weapon. The incident began when an officer spotted Taylor urinating in a parking garage. Upon noticing signs of intoxication, the cop advised him not to drive and he agreed, but he was caught driving later that night with an 18-year-old female companion in his vehicle. According to police, Taylor was attempting to drive the woman back to her college dorm and became abusive toward the arresting officer. He was found guilty and spent 5 days in jail. Taylor was arrested again in College Station in August of 2024, this time for allegedly assaulting and unlawfully restraining a 19-year-old female college student he had met at a bar 4 months earlier. The woman accused the Bachelorette alum of forcing himself on her, groping her, and shoving her to the ground before she managed to escape to a waiting Uber. In a report, police noted that the victim had bruises that were consistent with her version of events. Taylor reportedly told law enforcement that his encounter with the woman was enjoyable and consensual, but police didn't believe he was being truthful. Following his arrest, he was released from jail after posting bonds totaling $8,000. He denied the allegations in a statement to People magazine, claiming that there wasn't a single scratch on his body and that his accuser had left his house with no injuries, signifying the lack of a struggle. The case appears to be ongoing. Number 12. John Raymond. Pastor John Raymond competed on the 5th season of Survivor in Thailand in 2002. 20 years later, in 2022, he was arrested in Slidell, Louisiana, for abusing 3 teenage students by taping their mouths shut while working as the headmaster at a Christian school. The charges, which included 3 felony counts of cruelty to juveniles, came following an investigation that was triggered by a complaint to the state's Department of Children and Family Services. According to police, the incident occurred after the students were removed from their classroom for excessive talking. Raymond took the teens into his office where he wrapped packaging tape around their heads, then sent them back to class. Around an hour later, a teacher became uncomfortable with the situation and removed the tape, which required the use of scissors because it had gotten caught in the students' hair. The students claimed they had struggled to breathe with the tape on their faces and described the removal process as painful. In September of 2024, Raymond was found guilty as charged. He was also convicted of a lesser count of cruelty to juveniles for holding his hand over a crying student's face and obstructing his breathing, causing the child to go limp. The 62-year-old faces up to 40 years in prison and is due to be sentenced in late October. He has shown no remorse for his actions, denying that he ever acted cruelly and blaming cancel culture for his current legal dilemma. Number 11. Ariel Robinson. mother of 5 Ariel Robinson of Greenville County, South Carolina, nabbed a $25,000 prize as the winner on season 20 of the Food Network series Worst Cooks in America. Just months after the season aired in 2020, the 29-year-old and her husband, 34-year-old Jerry Austin Robinson, were arrested for homicide in connection with the violent death of their foster daughter, Victoria. Jerry was quick to flip on Ariel, telling investigators that his wife was the primary actor in the fatal beating that claimed the victim's life. He pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of aiding and abetting homicide by abuse and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. During Ariel's trial, Jerry tearfully testified that he was outside in the family's yard when his wife attacked Victoria for not eating her breakfast fast enough, causing the internal injuries that killed the young girl. He admitted that he failed to intervene as the noise continued for an hour. The defense attempted to destroy Jerry's credibility by highlighting his established history of lying about major things during his 14-year marriage to Ariel, including one instance where he falsely claimed that he had earned his GED. He had also lied to his wife about losing jobs and had secretly pawned some of the couple's belongings during periods of financial struggle. But these past examples of dishonesty failed to dissuade the jury from the story that was told by other evidence, including police body cam footage which showed Ariel blaming Victoria and another foster child for the bruises that covered the victim's body. Moreover, the medical examiner who performed Victoria's autopsy testified that the damage to the victim's body was far more severe than it would have been if Ariel's story about what had happened was true. After deliberating for just an hour following the 4-day trial, the jury found Ariel guilty of homicide. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 10. Jeffrey Paskel. 44-year-old single father Jeffrey Paskel traveled from his home state of Tennessee to meet his long-distance on and off Russian girlfriend, Varia Malina, during season 4 of the 90 Day Fiancé spin-off Before the 90 Days. While the season aired, fans discovered that he had a troubling criminal history and was facing serious charges for an incident involving his ex, which had occurred in 2019. During one of Paskel and Malina's off periods, Paskel was engaged to a woman who accused him of holding her captive inside his Knox County home and taking her phone so she couldn't dial 911. The victim managed to escape to a neighbor's house while Paskel was asleep, and he was subsequently charged with aggravated kidnapping, domestic assault, and interference with emergency calls. In late 2021, a jury found Paskel guilty as charged. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Since then, Malina has obtained her green card to live and work in the US through a visa lottery. She remains devoted to Paskel and is overseeing properties that he owns while he serves his time. Number 9. Michael Scoopin. 62-year-old Michael Scoopin competed on the reality show Survivor during its 2nd season in 2000 and again during its 25th season in 2012. In February of 2013, he was arrested in Hillsdale County, Michigan for driving on a suspended license, lacking insurance, and having an improper license plate. It was subsequently revealed that he had a long history of traffic violations and that his license had been suspended around 20 times since 1999. From that point on, Scoopin's reputation only worsened. Later that year, in December of 2013, he was publicly called out by investigative reporter Rob Walchek, who accused him of running a Ponzi scheme through his financial business Pay It Forward, featuring Scoopin on his Hall of Fame segment with the Detroit-based news station WJBK. Walchek claimed that the disgraced former reality contestant had failed to pay his investors their promised dividends. A little over 2 years later, in February of 2016, Scoopin was charged with 5 counts of larceny by conversion and 1 count of racketeering for his alleged financial crimes. He was also charged with 6 counts of possessing illegal images of minors, which were discovered during the investigation into his suspected Ponzi scheme. In November of that year, Scoopin was found guilty of 4 counts relating to the illicit images, and he pleaded guilty to a single count of larceny by conversion. He was sentenced to 1 to 4 years in prison, followed by 4 years of probation, and was ordered to pay nearly $32,000 in restitution. Scoopin was paroled in December of 2017 after serving 1 year in prison, and he completed his parole in 2021. Number 8. Autumn Daly. 51-year-old Autumn Daly, who participated on the reality series Big Brother 2, in 2001, was arrested in Louisville, Texas in June of 2024 on an outstanding warrant for theft. Law enforcement tracked her vehicle to a retail store she owns called Encore, where they asked her if she had any outstanding warrants. Daly confirmed that she did have a warrant and reportedly claimed that she was in the process of trying to square away the unresolved matter. She was charged with property theft between $30,000 and $150,000 and was subsequently released from jail after posting a $2,500 bond. TMZ's request to law enforcement for more information on the case went unanswered, but Daly spoke out following her arrest, telling the celeb news website that the case is a retaliation attempt on the part of a former business associate who sued her in civil court and lost. She expressed confidence that the charge won't stick and said she's in the process of countersuing the person for $500,000, but declined to go into further details, citing the ongoing nature of the case. Number 7. Silas Gaither. 46-year-old Survivor Africa alum Silas Randolph Gaither competed on the show's third season in 2001 and 2002. In November of 2019, he was arrested in Shelby County, Tennessee, on suspicion of forcing himself on 2 women during 2 separate incidents, which occurred in Germantown and Memphis. Gaither was released on $50,000 bail shortly after his arrest, and details on the case have remained scarce in the news. In July of 2021, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of aggravated assault in exchange for various other counts being dropped. He was sentenced to 6 years of probation, sparing him from any prison time, and was banned from having any contact with his victims. As a contingency of his probation, Gaither is allowed to travel to 10 states throughout the American Southeast for work and family-related purposes. Following the sentencing hearing, one of the victims told Memphis-based news station WREG that she didn't think Gaither got what he deserved, but that she was thankful to avoid a trial. Assistant District Attorney Leslie Rainey said that the victims were kept informed throughout the case and that the plea agreement was reached after considering all the facts of the case and the possible outcomes of a trial. She further stated that while nothing can undo the trauma that the victims experienced, the resolution enabled them to move on with their lives and left Gaither with a felony record that cannot be erased. Number 6. Chris Soules. In April of 2017, Bachelorette alum Chris Soules rear-ended a tractor being driven by a 66-year-old Kenny Mosher in Aurora, Iowa. He administered CPR until emergency medical responders reached the scene, but fled before police arrived. Mosher died from his injuries, and Soules was arrested at his home on a felony charge of leaving the scene of a fatal accident. Soules, who appeared on Andy Dorfman's season of The Bachelorette in 2014, could have faced up to 5 years in prison if convicted as charged. In November of 2018, roughly a year and a half after the hit and run, he pleaded guilty to a reduced, aggravated misdemeanor count of leaving the scene of a personal injury accident, which carries a maximum prison sentence of up to 2 years. He received a 2-year suspended prison sentence along with 2 years of probation and was ordered to pay the minimum fine of $625. In addition to the consequences imposed by his criminal case, Soules and his parents agreed to pay Mosher's surviving family members $2.5 million to settle a wrongful death lawsuit. Number 5. Zara Holland. 29-year-old British model and former Miss Great Britain title holder, Zara Holland is best known for her appearance on the reality series Love Island. In 2016, she was stripped of her Miss Great Britain title due to her behavior on the show and continued to make news headlines for unflattering reasons in the years to come. In early 2021, Holland was arrested in Barbados for breaking the country's COVID-19 laws. According to authorities, the former beauty queen and her boyfriend, Elliot Love, were given red wristbands in order to undergo a mandatory quarantine period while awaiting their coronavirus test results. After learning that Love had tested positive for COVID, the pair cut off their wristbands and took a taxi to the airport in an attempt to return to Great Britain. They were arrested at the airport after staff members at their hotel discovered the discarded bracelets and called the police. Holland and Love were accused of several crimes, including endangering the lives of others. If convicted as charged, they would have faced up to a year in prison, along with a maximum fine upwards of $23,000 each. Love paid a $4,000 fine after his lawyer successfully argued that he was a simple guy who made less than $600 per week working at a demolition firm, while Holland was fined $6,000. They both managed to avoid jail time despite another tourist having recently been sentenced to 6 months behind bars for a lesser offense. Holland left Barbados as soon as her case was settled, and she was given a clean bill of health, while Love remained quarantined at a military base until he was declared COVID-free. Number 4. Johnny Fairplay. 50-year-old former art consultant, professional wrestler, and reality TV personality John Dalton, better known as Johnny Fairplay, came in third place on the 7th season of Survivor in 2003. He competed on the show again during its 16th season in 2008, this time coming in last. Dalton is perhaps best remembered for infamously pretending his grandmother died during his time on the series. In an ironic twist, Dalton and his mother, 68-year-old Patsy Terry Hall, were charged with grand larceny, Pittsylvania County, Virginia, in 2020 for allegedly stealing thousands of dollars worth of jewelry and furniture from Dalton's grandmother, Jean Cook. The pair were accused of taking a leather chair, an end table, bar stools, and a $5,000 silver necklace from Cook's home without proper permission. In a statement following the arrests, Dalton said that the complaint had been lodged by a disgruntled aunt and that he welcomed the opportunity to vindicate himself and his mother. He got his wish in early 2021 when the cases against both defendants were dismissed due to a lack of evidence. Number 3. Megan Hauserman. After appearing on the VH1 series Rock of Love with Bret Michaels, I Love Money and Rock of Love, Charm School, former Playboy model and TV personality Megan Hauserman landed her own dating game show called Megan Wants a Millionaire in 2009. She vowed to take the show seriously, stating in an interview that she was seeking a mature guy that can handle me and doesn't cry, and that he didn't have to be rich, but that he had to be financially stable. Two of her close friends, Brandy Cunningham and Cecile Gar, would serve as consultants and sources of support for Hauserman as she navigated the dating process laid out by the show, but the series never came to fruition. In a dark twist, it was cancelled 3 episodes in after one of the contestants, 32-year-old Ryan Jenkins, was accused in the brutal murder and mutilation of his wife, 28-year-old Jasmine Fiore. Jasmine was found dead at a motel in British Columbia shortly after he was officially named as a suspect in August of 2009. And the short-lived reality show slipped into obscurity. In 2010, Hauserman was arrested in Miami Beach on suspicion of driving under the influence. According to police reports, the then 28-year-old was pulled over at 3:15 in the morning after her BMW was seen weaving between lanes and driving 75 miles per hour in a 50 mile per hour zone. Hauserman reportedly showed signs of intoxication, including slurred speech, watery bloodshot eyes, and an odor of alcohol. She told police that she was on her way to her job at an adult club, but she was instead taken to jail after failing a balance test and blowing a .10 on a breathalyzer. In 2011, Hauserman pleaded guilty as part of a deal with prosecutors. She was sentenced to 6 months of probation, lost her driver's license for 6 months, was fined $1,000, and was ordered to perform community service and attend DUI classes. Today's topic was requested by IlJ-Fia1 and Chris Bound LX7QZ. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Ryan Alexander Jenkins. As mentioned in the previous listing, 32-year-old Canadian-born reality TV contestant Ryan Alexander Jenkins participated in the short-lived reality series Megan Wants a Millionaire, which was cancelled after just 3 episodes when he was identified as a suspect in the murder of his wife of 3 months. The show's quiet end came in August of 2009, after 28-year-old swimsuit model Jasmine Fiore's body was found stuffed in a suitcase that had been thrown into a dumpster in Buena Park, California. She had been beaten and strangled, and her body had been mutilated in an attempt to obscure her identity, but investigators managed to identify her using the serial number on her breast implants. Fiore had last been seen alive 2 nights before her body was found at a nearby hotel, where she and Jenkins had attended a charity poker tournament together. The couple was seen leaving the hotel at 2:30 a.m. and Jenkins was seen returning alone to the hotel, where they were staying about 2 hours later. He reported his wife missing on the day her body was found, prior to the identification of her remains. Jenkins fled town the following morning, telling police that he was in Utah to resolve some immigration issues, when in reality he was on his way to Canada. On the same day he was named as a suspect in Fiore's murder, he booked a hotel room in Hope, British Columbia, where he was later found dead. The hotel manager told investigators that Jenkins looked exhausted upon checking in and was unrecognizable from the wanted photo that had been circulating on television. The disturbing tragedy had a lasting impact on reality TV, prompting producers to make a more concerted effort to track the background and well-being of participants. As you can see, fame can blind any type of celebrity, but what happens when they completely fall from grace? Stay tuned till after number 1. We've got our previous release of 9 celebrities who fell off their pedestals coming up next. Number 1. Joseph Paresi. In November of 2019, federal authorities raided the Geneva, Illinois home of former Shark Tank contestant Joseph Paresi, where they reportedly found tens of thousands of dollars worth of drugs in his possession. The bust came after Homeland Security officials learned about a package containing ecstasy that was on its way to the 31-year-old's home from the Netherlands. Paresi and his business partner, Nick Navarez, appeared on Shark Tank in April 27, roughly 2.5 years before Paresi's alleged involvement in the drug trade. The pair pitched a personal security device called the Guard Llama, which was meant to act as a one-button connection to law enforcement by automatically sending the user's GPS coordinates to the police. They landed a $100,000 investment deal from businesswoman Barbara Corcoran. But at some point, Paresi apparently decided to take his career ambitions in another direction. During the raid, investigators found 55 grams of ecstasy, 7 grams of magic mushrooms, 65 grams of cannabis, and a small amount of cocaine. Further investigation revealed that Paresi was also accepting packages at another nearby residence. Authorities intercepted 2 packages containing over 500 grams of ecstasy, valued at around $80,000. Paresi was charged with controlled substance trafficking, manufacture or delivery of ecstasy, possession of a controlled substance, attempt to possess ecstasy, possession of cannabis, possession of drug paraphernalia, and 3 counts of possession of controlled substance. The outcome of the case is unclear. In early 2023, Native American actor Nathan Chasing Horse, who was born on the Rosebud Indian Reservation, was accused of assaulting indigenous girls over the course of roughly 2 decades. 46-year-old Chasing Horse, best known for his role in the Kevin Costner-led Best Picture winner Dances with Wolves, gained a reputation as a so-called medicine man and holy person among tribes across the United States and in Canada, claiming to perform healing ceremonies. According to investigators, he used his power and influence to create a cult-like group called The Circle, which he used to prey on young women. The assault allegations against Chasing Horse dated back to the early 2000s. His followers reportedly offered their teen daughters for him to take as wives. Following an investigation in late 2022, SWAT officers raided the man's North Las Vegas home on January the 31st of 2023. During the course of the raid, officials seized memory cards containing videos of the assaults, multiple firearms, 41 pounds of marijuana, and psychedelic mushrooms. Chasing Horse was subsequently arrested and booked into the Clark County Jail, with his bond later set at $300,000. On February the 8th, he was charged with exploitation of children, among other serious offenses. 2 weeks later, a Nevada grand jury indicted him on 19 charges that included kidnapping, lewdness, drug trafficking, assault, and child abuse. As of the latest developments, Chasing Horse had pleaded not guilty to assaulting 2 women in Clark County and was facing criminal prosecution in both Montana and Canada. Number 8. Lonnie Willison. After a tumultuous 2-year marriage between former Baywatch actor Jeremy Jackson and fitness model Lonnie Willison, the latter appeared to be homeless as she was spotted pushing a shopping cart through the streets of Los Angeles. In December of 2012, the 29-year-old woman tied the knot with Jackson in Laguna Beach. While the 32-year-old actor was intoxicated in August of 2014, he allegedly strangled and beat Willison in their bedroom during the course of an argument. Willison was left with 2 broken ribs, an injured neck, and scratches on her face and body in the aftermath. Los Angeles officers were called to the scene and arrested Jackson, who was consequently accused of attempted murder. However, the case was dropped when Willison decided not to press charges, saying she was scared of a potential retaliation on Jackson's part. After their divorce, Willison reportedly suffered a mental breakdown worsened by addictions to alcohol and crystal meth. In 2018, she was barely recognizable, as images of her rummaging through a shopping cart filled with her belongings surfaced online. In a YouTube interview published in May of 2023, Willison blamed her ex for her precipitous downfall. Number 7. Vanessa Marquez. Actress Vanessa Marquez's active career in the 90s eventually came to an end due to serious mental health issues, including bipolar disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and agoraphobia. In 2018, she was reported to also be suffering from celiac disease, fibromyalgia, seizures, and depression. On August the 30th of that year, her friend reportedly called the fire department in South Pasadena, California, because Marquez was experiencing seizures. The caller requested paramedics and mental health experts to be sent to the woman's residence. Responding police officers found Marquez's home in utter disarray. When they found the former actress upstairs, they urged her to go to a hospital for treatment. An argument ensued when she subsequently refused. The woman allegedly pulled a BB gun out of her purse at one point. She aimed it at the officers, prompting them to retreat downstairs. Police body cam footage revealed that Marquez pleaded with the officers to kill her as she continued to point the BB gun at them. Ultimately, 2 officers who thought the weapon was a real firearm shot her a total of 12 times. She was taken to a hospital where she succumbed to gunshot wounds in her torso shortly after 2:30 p.m. No criminal charges were brought against the officers involved in the shooting, who insisted they thought Marquez posed a threat to their safety. The deceased woman's mother filed a wrongful death claim against the city of South Pasadena in February of 2019. The suit was settled for a reported $450,000 2 years later. Number 6. Jennifer Shah. A 49-year-old American television personality from Salt Lake City, Utah, pleaded guilty to a conspiracy criminal charge in 2022. Jennifer Shah, who was a cast member of the reality television series The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, played an integral role in a nationwide telemarketing scam that began targeting people in 2012. Many of the victims were elderly people who Shah and her co-conspirators were able to defraud repeatedly until nothing was left in their bank accounts. Following the arrest of her accomplices, the TV personality was taken into custody on March 30th of 2021, charged with 2 offenses related to conspiracy. A week later, she pleaded not guilty to both charges and was released on a $1 million personal recognizance bond with a $250,000 cash security. After changing her plea to guilty on July the 11th of the following year, the judge agreed to drop the additional charge of conspiracy to commit money laundering. On January the 8th of 2023, Shah was sentenced to 78 months of incarceration and ordered to forfeit $6,500,000, 30 luxury items and 78 counterfeit luxury items. She was also required to pay over $6 million in restitution. Number 5. Chris Wu. A 30-year-old Chinese-Canadian singer and actor was arrested following the emergence of assault allegations posted on social media by a 19-year-old Chinese woman named Meizhu Du on July the 8th of 2021. Through the social media platform Weibo, Du claimed that Chris Wu took advantage of her while she was intoxicated at his home on December the 5th of 2020. She went on to write that there were 7 other victims as well. Wu denied the claims, but multiple companies for which he served as a brand ambassador subsequently cut ties with him. On July the 31st, Beijing Chaoyang District Police detained Wu and formally arrested him 16 days later on suspicion of assault. In November of the following year, the Chaoyang District People's Court convicted Wu of assault and assembling a crowd to engage in promiscuous activities. He was sentenced to a total of 13 years in prison and deportation from China upon his release. As of the latest updates, Wu appealed for a second trial in February of 2023 after finding a new witness to testify against Du. Number 4. Marie Avgeropoulos. In the early hours of August the 5th of 2018, Canadian actress Marie Avgeropoulos was arrested for injuring her 41-year-old boyfriend. The incident occurred while the couple were traveling along the 134 freeway in Glendale, California. A verbal argument ensued between the two, culminated in 32-year-old Avgeropoulos striking her partner several times, causing minor injuries to his head, neck, and arm. The victim then called 911 and Avgeropoulos was arrested at approximately 1:15 a.m. The woman, who starred in the post-apocalyptic sci-fi television series The 100, was booked into jail on a domestic violence charge shortly before 2:30 a.m. Later that morning, her boyfriend posted her $50,000 bail and pushed for the charges to be dropped. The attack was allegedly triggered by an adverse reaction she was having to medication, and on September the 17th, she pleaded not guilty. The case was formally dismissed in December after prosecutors accepted that there was no intentional act of violence. Number 3. Allison Mack. In April of 2018, American actress Allison Mack was accused of committing various crimes as a high-ranking member of the cult NXIVM. Founded in 1998, the New York-based organization operated under the guise of a corporation that offered executive success programs. After Mack joined NXIVM in 2006, she eventually worked her way up to becoming second in command to Keith Raniere. According to prosecutors, Mack created a secret female-only subgroup within NXIVM that recruited other women as slaves behind the facade of female empowerment. Unbeknownst to many of the recruits, Mack would allegedly order them to be intimate with Raniere and send him nude photographs once they joined the group. In exchange for her loyalty, Mack received various benefits, including money. In 2017, several former NXIVM members exposed the group's cult-like operation, eventually giving way to Raniere's arrest in March of 2018. A month later, on April the 20th, Mack was apprehended by the FBI in Brooklyn on charges of trafficking conspiracy, and forced labor conspiracy. Following her release from the Metropolitan Detention Center on a $5 million bond, she was held under house arrest in California in the custody of her parents. A year later, 35-year-old Mack pleaded guilty to racketeering and racketeering conspiracy and admitted extortion and forced labor under state law. During her sentencing on June the 30th of 2021, she only received a 3-year prison term, to be followed by 3 years of probation. The maximum punishment for her various charges was reported as 14 years of incarceration. The U.S. attorney credited Mack for the detailed information she provided during the investigation and prosecution of other NXIVM members. In addition to her prison sentence, she was ordered to perform 1,000 hours of community service and pay a fine of $20,000. Number 2. Michelle Melody. 20-year-old TikTok influencer Michelle Melody, who accumulated nearly 1 million followers with her online content, was arrested after allegedly stabbing her boyfriend in August of 2022. The attack in question unfolded at the young woman's apartment in Thurgau, Switzerland, during the course of a domestic dispute. The unnamed 19-year-old victim was seriously injured and rushed to a hospital where surgery was performed to mend his multiple stab wounds. Fortunately, he was discharged the following day. Melody later posted online saying, "He asked me if I'm bad. I said I'm the worst." In early September of 2022, her arrest was confirmed by the local public prosecutor's office, though no further information was provided at that time. Number 1. Cara Delevingne. Prominent model and actress Cara Delevingne exhibited erratic behavior on September the 5th of 2022, which landed her in national headlines and caused many of her fans to grow concerned for her well-being. On the day in question, as the 30-year-old was making her way to Van Nuys Airport in a Chevy Suburban, her feet were reportedly dangling from the window as the car made its way through traffic. She arrived 2 hours late for a flight on Jay-Z's private plane. Moments later, Delevingne deboarded the plane for unclear reasons. She appeared jittery as she subsequently talked on her cell phone and dropped the device several times. Meanwhile, her bags were unloaded from the plane and placed back into the SUV. Footage of the incident left fans bewildered and concerned for the woman. In a comment posted online, one of her fans asked, "What's going on with Cara Delevingne? I feel so sad for her." 6 months later, Delevingne informed Vogue magazine that childhood trauma had caused her to spiral into alcohol and drug addiction. She reportedly spent most of her younger years looking after her bipolar and heroin-addicted mother, which she attributed to her damaged mental state. On March the 9th of 2023, CNN reported that Delevingne was 4 months sober after undergoing treatment that incorporated meditation and yoga. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be a contestant on Fear Factor or on Wheel of Fortune? Let us know in the comments section below.